The world of GT racing brings with it excitement and trepidation as we get ready to look here on a new season for the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship, powered by Race Anywhere, Sim3D, Go for the Gap, Absolute Sim Racing, and the World Series Leagues. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the press booth tonight by Ewan O'Leary, with David Christie behind the scenes as our director and producer. And we are here for a press day, Ewan, around one of the greatest circuits that North America has to offer up, Road America.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great place to get started. We had great fun in the EU series about 3 hours ago or so, and so we're going to have another great opener here in the US as well. It's kind of an opportunity for all of these drivers to test the waters a little bit, as well as the organisers as well, to test the waters and make sure everything is running smoothly for round one at Le Mans in 1 week's time. But as we said, a great opportunity for the drivers and us, I guess, to see which drivers are out on top at the moment and which we should be looking out for in 1 week's time when we start for real at Le Mans.
Exactly. And let's go ahead and run you through that starting order here as we go. It is Dan Tenorio who was able to put the new Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo on pole. That's going to be a storyline that we talk about over the course of the race, that new car. Jeremy Littleton will be starting to his outside with Kai DL and James Pierce behind them in row 2. Dean Timms will line up in 5th, and then Gary Brown will be 6th. Chris Long will line up 7th with Drew Swank behind him. Alex Trevor will be in P9, followed by Errol Urexoy. Shane Larson will be 11th, and Dave Menino rounds out your top 12, Ewan.
Absolutely, looking a little bit further down to those outside. Shane Larson will line up 13th alongside, James Howell. I don't know where I got that from. Mark Chapman will be alongside him. Harry Wills, who competed in the EU not so long ago, is in 15th. Russell Burton in 16th, out of Stephen Martinez and Fabian Ponce on the 9th row together. Eric Kulaga and Brandon Melling will be rounding out the top 20 with Michael Fowler and Justin Delano on the next row, and then Michael Kulaga is on the next row as well as in 24th position, Casey Metzger, and then we've got the final few drivers to round out the top 32 here, DJ.
Yes, we do. Daniel Floria and Jeff Carollo there with Matthew Plaisance and Eric Blumenkrantz there. You can see the whole rest of the field there, and a good disparity among the cars. Now, we talked briefly about that new Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo. That is a new car here onto the service, the upgraded model of what we have seen here previously, and it looks pretty favored with a lot of drivers up at the pointy end of the field being able to put that three-pointed star machine into good position. I'm a little bit surprised, if I'm honest, to see the likes of Jeremy Littleton and James Pierce with the Audi. Wouldn't necessarily have picked the Audi to be a favorite around this Road America circuit.
Well, I suppose it's not all about the Road America circuit in specific. It's all about the 10 circuits we've got coming up and a season overall rather than at one particular circuit. But I am a little bit surprised as well. It didn't perform wildly great in the EU, I have to say. But the Mercedes wasn't that great either. It didn't win a race in any of the categories, I don't think. We saw Ferrari take a victory, BMW, Lamborghini and Porsche all taking a victory in the two races for the two categories as well, Pro and Am. Not a single Mercedes victory. The new car wasn't as strong as particularly what I saw last night when I was commentating on a couple of races at the Hockenheim. It was the car to have. Now, that might well have been a circuit-specific thing, but certainly a few more Mercedes up towards the front in this particular series. However, there is good variety, as you say, and that's exactly what we like to see. And there's even more variety behind some of these camera shots as well, as we look a little bit further down the field, as we will do throughout this race.
Yes, we we're going to show here very quickly the corrected grid order down in the AM category. That's right, we have two categories of car out here today, Pro drivers and AM drivers. There you can see Russell Burton able to take pole there for the AM, Stephen Martinez, Fabian Ponce, Eric Kudlaga, Braden Mailing, Michael Fowler, Justin Delano, Michael Kudlaga, Casey Metzger, Daniel Floria, Jeff Carollo, and Matthew Plaisance there. That is going to be that, and we work our way down here past Kettle Bottoms down into Canada Corner. One of the potential overtaking opportunities on this track, Ewan.
Yeah, it's probably, well, I'll say the best one. Probably one of, maybe, not the best, but it is a place where you can see moves. We have seen, indeed, a few hours ago, some misjudgments as well, and some incidents spearing out onto the outside into the gravel there. But thankfully, the first race in the EU was actually very clean in terms of the start, at least, as in the Pro and Am categories. Everybody got through turns 1, 2 and 3 very cleanly indeed. Let's see if it's the same in the US.
We'll have to see, because we only have one corner to go here until we get that green flag signal from Barney, the iRacing pace car, ready to scamper off down pit lane, and there it goes, giving the control of the field over to Dan Tenorio, waiting here for the command on this rolling start. It's a long run up to the start-finish line, and there goes the green. We are racing in Road America. It is a brilliant start there from Tenorio. DL there in that fellow Mercedes, going to be able to get a good run as well and move his way up one position. Still a little bit of Noah's Ark as we dive down into the corner. That's Pierce and Littleton being very, very close together as they run. Looks like the first couple of cars able to get through okay, but we've had a big contact. Massive spinning around there. That's the number 31 Audi on its lid. That is Jeremy Littleton. We've had chaos at the start.
We have had chaos. Second place on the grid there, Littleton, and Didn't really get off to a great start. He got himself into the mid-pack, into the dangerous mid-pack, and unfortunately it's resulted in disaster for him. But this is exactly why we have the class split. The Pro and the AM categories start much spaced apart from each other in this GT3 Championship, and that's exactly why. Because while that was a fairly big incident in the Pro category, the AM cars have all been able to avoid it without any problems at all, because they start a good 10, 15, 20 seconds afterwards.
Yes, they do. A very clean and orderly start up front here in the Pro category. A little bit of side-by-side there with Dave Menino. I believe that was Harry Wills that was able to get a good little move around him going down through the corners. Ooh, as here comes Steven Martinez, the Vulture Motorsports Blue driver, starting to make a little bit of a challenge here on Burton in that first place position for the AM category.
So very close at the front of AM. It was much more single file actually. We saw Russell Burton actually able to string things out a lot more than what we saw in the Pro category. And there you can see in the background there, pretty much everybody's got off to a clean start in the AM class, but they're all single file at the moment. Nobody has really been able to make big strides forward. Nobody going backwards quickly, but in the Pro category, it's complete madness. That's a bit too late on the brakes from Traber, and he's actually going to pay for that, probably with a position. Urexoy is down his inside.
Yes, he is. Urexoy down to his inside, able to get that move. Drew Swank trying to make it 2-4-1 if he can go in that BMW, but it doesn't look like it's going to pay out. And that's one of the problems about being able to send that dive down into Canada corner, is it can be very, very dangerous. We watch a replay of that start. The number 31 looks like just spun the tires up there, catching the grass on the outside and getting flung back into the center of the track, and that causing absolute carnage.
Yeah, Drew Swank, I'm surprised he's not got more damage there because he's got no front end anymore, but he still seems to be going all right in terms of pace at the moment. Larson has had to come into the pit lane after only one lap. But you see that BMW in the background there, just behind Harry Wills. Drew Swank's front end is not there anymore, but he's still going at a decent pace. He's struggling a little bit. You can see him sliding out of turn 3 there, but that was a really big accident. This is on board with Littleton. Yeah, I thought there was contact initially, but he just lost it on his own. This could have happened at any time. It just happened to be on lap 1 when everyone's so close together, and in the end at least 4 cars got involved.
Yes, they did, and I can tell you that I have certainly done that as a driver. It's a very easy mistake to make, as there's Tremor going down. That is going up through into turn 7, just losing it there. Excuse me, that's turn 8, getting ready to go onto the carousel, just carrying a little bit too much momentum into the corner, and the rear end saying, I've had enough.
I think he got on the grass by the looks of things. It's a bit difficult to see as you go up the hill there. Here it is. He does get on the grass indeed. As I say, over the crest there, it's difficult to see. And so you can just dip a wheel on the grass and spin onto the outside. That's exactly what happened to Alex Trevor, who now drops down to 11th place.
Yeah, he's going to find himself down the order. Luckily, though, there, he didn't really have that much damage on the car, so he'll be able to keep going. We look out the back right now with Kai DL, Dean Timms, and James Pierce locked in a very, very fierce fight for the final podium position as they run. Oh, a little bit squiggly there coming through Canada corner, and as we get our way to Bill Mitchell Bend, that is going to be the Audi of Dean Timms up and on by.
Yeah, that was all the invitation that he really needed, and so didn't make any mistake of that. Goes straight through into that 3rd position. We're already seeing, though, a pretty good lead here for Dan Tenorio. 2 seconds at the end of the 2nd lap. Very impressive indeed. I know there's been battling going on, as you say, in that little 2nd, 3rd kind of battle happening a little bit further back, but that's still an impressive lead for Tenorio as we go a little bit further back to where the real accidents were earlier on. Dave Bernard trying to get through into the inside line of turn 1. Drew Swank has got to be suffering at the moment with that front end right now. Down to 9th. You can be sure that is affecting him at the moment.
Yeah, it for sure is. He's going to be losing a lot of straight line speed, I'd have to imagine, and probably a lot of corner turn in with that splitter all but missing here on the track. But it's not fighting back on his tenacity. He is trying to fight that position for Dave Menino. I've got to admire his spunk here. He is certainly trying to make the most of a very, very rough run.
He is, and there's no pit stops in this race. There's no mandatory stops, and there's no need to make a stop either. So what he's decided, clearly, and no fast repairs either, I should mention as well. So there's no point in him coming into the pit lane, really. He's just going to have to suffer with this one and try and get as many points as possible, because as you've already seen, we've had 4 cars from the Pro category already into the pit lane. If he came in with them, then he'd be losing points like they are. James Pierce, though, also dropping down, having come in the pit lane here. I do wonder this might have been a disconnection, or did he get served here? I think he's had a technical failure because that car does not look like it's... Well, that looks very weird, but I'm going to guess a technical there.
Yeah, that may be a VR issue. That may be an issue with some of the mechanics there on his sim wheel as they run. Jump you back here. Nice little battle happening in the AM category. Casey Metzger working his way around, trying to close in on Daniel Floria right up ahead of him. This is Eric Blumenkrantz as well. A little bit of blinking there in the back. That can certainly throw you off a little bit as a driver as you run. You never want to see those blinking cars as you never really know where they're going to reappear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the worst thing you want to see as an iRacer. The car blinking in front of. We've got Charles Boschel going around at turn 8, the corner before the carousel, and another blinking car just beside him. See what happened to the Olympus Esports driver. Might be a dip of a wheel on the grass. Yep, it's the easiest mistake in racing to make, and that's exactly what Boschel did there to lose himself out on a place.
Yeah, and it seems to be particularly easy to make that mistake here around Road America. The turn-ins, not a lot of curbing there on the turn into the corner, so when you try to extend that line as much as possible, you can really find yourself into the danger zone. Now, we should quickly mention here as we watch this battle with Harry Wills and Gary Brown right now, Ariel Urexoy behind them, a little bit of the format of what we're running tonight. This first race is a 20-minute sprint race, and then we will have a second race later in the night that is going to be a full inversion of the Pro class and a full inversion of the AM class. So watch for that second race, a 50-minute race, to really get electric as the fast drivers are going to have to work their way back up through the field.
Yeah, when we get to the real championship, obviously no points being scored today. It is just a press day. But when points are going to be scored by these teams and drivers, there are more available in that second race because it's a longer race. I know it's inverted, but the field will be inverted, field will be reversed, but there are more points up for grabs. 50 for a win on that occasion as opposed to the 40 that will be available in this race here. So that does shake things up as well. You do need to be very good at making your way through the field and staying out of accidents if you want to be the champion in this series. As we got Michael Fowler off the road, I think that's down at turn 5 as well. There may well have been contact with somebody in the AM category for him to have to retire.
It may indeed. Speaking of that AM category, we focus here on Justin Delano, the Eclipse Racing Esports Solar driver in the number 38 as he's trying to close in on the back of Brendan Mayling. Ooh, good little battle here. This is what we were following a little bit earlier. This is Ariel Urexoy trying to get a move done on Gary Brown, going down through the final corner. That is aggressive stuff from the Porsche driver, and they're going to be side by side as they climb their way up the hill that makes the start-finish line.
Yeah, Brown just got a nicer run off that final corner though, so he's going to have his nose in front and his whole car in front as we get over the line. Look how close this is though. Urexoy is not going to let this one go without a fight down the inside, and that BMW just picking up that little bit of slipstream and using the straight line speed to get down the inside quite nicely and get back into that 5th position. It's all allowing Menanoa to get back into this fight as well in the Audi.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dave Menino now able to close back in. He's about 3.5 tenths of a second behind, maybe able to carry a little bit better speed there out of turn 3 as now they go down the Moraine sweep, trying to pick up as much of that draft as possible. I will say what all this squabbling really has done is it's allowed for Harry Wills to be able to absolutely pull away here to the tune of about 3.5 seconds. Little bit of a move as we go down into the corner. These guys have no intention of letting up.
Yeah, I didn't quite realise, but Harry Wills has had a great start to this race in the first 10 minutes or so. I think he qualified 14th in this one. Of course, he's a UK driver and staying up for the US. He's got to organise it, so he might as well race in it as well. And he's up to 4th place already in this race as we look at more issues for Eric Blumenkrantz at the moment, coming out of turn 3, dropping down well outside the top 10 in the AM category, and there looks to be a bit of suspension damage there as well.
Yes, there does. It's Kulaga and Hewitt here going side by side down into turn 5. Oh, a little bit squirrely on the binders there was Andrew Hewitt, and he is going to concede that position, running way too wide down into the braking zone, and that is such a tricky area to try to get right. Oh my goodness, here comes Dave Menino trying on Gary Brown.
Oh, it's a late dive, but it's going to work by the looks of things. Brown gives him the room through Canada corner, and he's not going to be able to keep his nose alongside for the penultimate corner, which is really what you need to do if you're trying to defend from the outside there. Wasn't able to. and so he gets dropped 2 places in this one lap. Of course, came over the line this time, last time around, and he was in 5th place. Now he's all the way down to 7th after being overtaken, but it's a close fight. These 3 are going to stay close for the remaining 10 minutes of this race, you would imagine.
Yeah, you have to imagine that, but we've got a close little battle here starting to develop for the lead in the AM category, and indeed for 2nd place in the AM category, rather, is Fabian Ponce there trying to hold off Eric Kulaga. Kulaga looking like he's got a good little run here. Now, these two don't want to squabble too much. That black and yellow car directly up ahead of them, that is going to be your leader in the AM category, Russell Burton. They do not want to let him slip away into the distance.
Now that's exactly the kind of tricky situation that Eric Kulaga finds himself in at the minute. He wants to get into 2nd place because he probably does feel like he's quicker than Ponce just in front of him. However, he also doesn't want to fight too much and let Burton get away completely, because any sort of fighting really between the two would let that BMW out front get away even further. So he really is in a predicament here, and of course he's got to remember he can't really win this race from 3rd position. Ken Kulaga, he's got to at least be in 2nd with a few minutes to go to really have a shot at this win, and that's not going to happen from back here. But if those two in front take each other out, it would help him out. He might just go for it now. Nice run off of turn 5, inside line for turn 6, but it's difficult to do that here there, although he goes deep under brakes, and they are now side by side battling, allowing Burton to get away.
Oh, and that is some brave stuff there from Eric Kulaga back in 3rd place. One of the trickiest corners to get right now, looking to the inside, going down into turn 8 before the carousel. Gonna back out of that a little bit, I think, just trying to see what pressure he can apply here to Fabian Ponce as they go. And now they work their way through the carousel. Always tricky to be able to deal through here, especially when you're coming in some of that dirtier air. These GT3 cars not nearly producing as much aero wash as you would see in a single-seater, but it is certainly felt through the high-speed carousel.
Yeah, it's a very, very long corner, as the name suggests. And it's a very tricky one as well, especially on the exit to get right as you go down into Canada corner. Doesn't look, well, Kulaga misses the apex there slightly, and he might be under pressure of his own now. But for whatever reason, Burton, despite the fact the pressure from him keeps getting alleviated every now and again, he's not really able to ram that advantage home and create a race-winning margin. 7 minutes still to go here, and you get the feeling that this is going to go on for the remaining 4 laps in this race. He's going to go on and on and on. And he can't, whenever he gets a car length, he can't turn that into 10 car lengths as we see so often. And he's just slowing down on the straight here. What on earth is going on with him there? Has he maybe got to slow down because he's just let Fabian Ponce into the lead there?
Well, we've got confirmation that he was lifting down the straightaway, so I'm not sure if that was a slowdown there or what exactly that was, but Ponce able to take the lead of this race right now. The number 16 up into the lead of the AM category as they run. Also a little bit of movement there in the back. That was Eric Kulaga in the Audi trying to get by Braden Maling. I think Harry Wills has had a little bit of a problem. Right on board with Burton here. You and I don't really have an explanation for this.
Well, yeah, slowdown for me is the only one, but it's rare to see a slowdown at the final corner, I would have thought. But either way, he just lets Fabian Ponce through. I just wonder, you are right, Harry Wills has dropped down to 10th position. I just wonder if those two are teammates. Have they orchestrated that quite possibly? I'm not entirely sure if they are teammates, though. It's going to be a classic turn 6, I can't see where I'm going kind of thing. Oh no, well, it's just kind of losing it on the rear, really. And hopefully he doesn't get hit. But he's sort of sat on the racing line there, trying to get turned around in the best way possible, which is pretty difficult to do. But disappointing for Harry Wills, because he obviously gained 10 places in the opening moments of this race, but he's pretty much undone most of his hard work there.
Yes, he has, and that's Gary Brown having a little bit of a problem coming down through Canada corner there. Looks like that rear-engine, rear-wheel drive Porsche, maybe just a little bit too much over-rotation. Let's go back and check out the replay. Looks like he dives into the corner by himself, and he's going to come in. I think he just carried a little bit too much speed there into that corner.
Yeah, he certainly did. Maybe got excited about the fact that he saw 3 positions in front of him that could well have been his, but yeah, just overdid it into Canada corner, went around, and that's a lot of his hard work undone as well, I'm afraid, for Gary Brown. So he'll continue on in what is now 8th position, a few seconds adrift of that little battle up in front, which is all over 4th position, currently being held by Errol Uretskoy. And we've got Menanoa and Treiber just behind as we go back to the battle for or up to the battle for P2 in Pro, I should say, because KDL is coming under a bit of pressure.
Yes, he is. And right now, we were talking about those Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evos and how they were going to fare. Well, currently in the Pro category, they run 1, 2, 3 here. KDL holding on to that second-place position over Dean Timms. Dan Tenorio checking out up front, about 4 seconds up the road. And so this battle really starting to emerge here in the last couple of laps. Remember, it's about a 2-minute lap time around here, so we're probably only looking at 2, maybe 3 laps to go at the line.
I think we're 2 laps to go at the line here, so not long for DL to hold on. But either way, I'm not entirely sure why the EU drivers couldn't quite get on with the Mercedes. But there's a lot of them in the US split here, and 1, 2, and 3 at the moment in the front of this race. We go back to the battle for 4th. This is by far the closest battle on the circuit. Yuretsui, Mananoa, Traber, and Drew Swank is. Was that a lap car in the background? I think it must be. That is not Drew Swank in the background there. So he's very recognisable at the moment with the missing front end, but Yurexo has been under a lot of pressure for a long time now, and he's just trying to soak it up for just a few more minutes here to hold on to that 4th place.
Yes, he is trying to see what he can do, but behind him, Dave Menino in that Audi, really trying to apply the pressure as much as possible, backs up the final corner to try to get a better run here down the long front straightaway. You need to be able to get this draft done, but getting the pass done into the first corner can be a little bit difficult. That's not going to dissuade Dave Menino for the SRT Esports team as they cross over the line perfectly side by side. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers into not the heaviest braking zone that is turn 1, but who is going to be able to pull this out? We watch on board, neither one of them giving way. Well,
that was Mananoa straight round the outside there, and you can definitely tell that Urexo is just fading a little bit towards the end of this race because he wasn't able to hold on from the inside there. You don't often see moves like that happen, but unfortunately Urexo wasn't able to hold on. We'll see if the straight line speed of the BMW can save him maybe into turn 5, but it doesn't look like it as these two change positions briefly. I think Diao's just about been able to hold on.
Yeah, and it looked like a little bit of squirreliness there going down into turn 5. I think that may have been a little bit of a love tap potentially to the back. Yeah, I think there was a little bit of contact there and a little bit of gentlemanly I hit you, let you go on by there. Love to see that for the Twisted Racing Team driver of Dean Timms.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously he did do that a couple of times actually in the EU race. He was fighting out for the AM victory in that particular instance. Going down the inside, I think it was actually of that corner on the final lap, but went far too wide and ended up in 4th position at the end of race 2. That was, he had to the reverse grid helping him out on that occasion, but in race 1 here in the Pro category even, he is on the podium right now and looking like he's going to take that one home, as Mark Chapman might be having a few problems here. He's now deep within the AM field.
Yeah, that number 28 looking like it's slowing down there a little bit. Focusing back on the battle right now between KDL and Dean Timms. That's separated out to about 1.2 seconds as they run. Oh, we've got to jump you back to the battle for P4 right now because it is positively electric. Everybody trying to sort themselves out here. Urexoy, Trevor, and Menino all slicing and dicing, coming to the white flag.
Well, Urexo managed to get through on Mananoa again, I think, there, and Trevor just followed through, so he'll be looking to take that 4th place now, maybe down the straight, but is there going to be enough slipstream? Is there going to be enough speed in that Mercedes to really overhaul the BMW, which is not exactly slow in a straight line? Let's see, it's going to have to be a late one from Trevor. He's going to go for it inside line. Urexo didn't have much luck defending it last lap. No! Oh, he's defended it this time. Trevor goes into the side of him and goes for a spin.
And I think that was just a little bit too much speed on a little bit too much more narrow of a line. Let's watch again for Trevor here as he goes down into the corner. Was there contact there between... Oh, he touched the grass. He touched the grass on the entry into the corner, and that's what started to upset the car a little bit. And then a little bit of left front to right rear contact there with Urexoy. Frankly, lucky that that didn't end in more tears for both drivers.
It's hard to say who was at fault really for that one. Was he squeezed too much, or did he get into the side of the BMW there? It's hard to say. But either way, he has gone around as Trevor, and he's down to 9th place now. Gary Brown making up 2 places on this lap by the looks of things, with that pass on Drew Swank as well, who's pretty much after that opening lap, where he didn't do a lot wrong to get involved in that first incident. He's had a pretty much perfect race since then, despite the lack of a front end.
Yes, indeed. Focusing back here on a little bit of a battle for the final podium position in the AM category. Brendan Mayling, the Eclipse Racing Esports Solar driver by Skyline Designs, trying to hold off Justin Delano here. It is Porsche versus BMW as they work their way through the hurry downs down into turn 8. And don't watch too close behind. Here they go. Remember, it is the final lap out there. And so we have got to jump back up here to Dan Tenorio, who has looked pretty untouchable out in the front of the field. The number 71 Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo going to bring that car across the line for Twisted Racing Team and take victory here. Behind them, it's going to be Kai DL and Dean Timms to round out your pro podium.
A very, very, I don't want to say easy victory for Dan Tenorio, but he wasn't exactly challenged throughout that one, with DL and Timms battling themselves quite a few seconds behind. In this battle for fourth, there was a great fight as well, and pretty much everybody else has had trials and tribulations throughout the day, but for Tenorio, he did have things all his own way. In terms of the AM category, things didn't really get too close. Fabian Potts was basically let through by... goodness, where has he gone now? We're not entirely sure. But I think it was Russell Burton, wasn't he? He's all the way down in 19th overall at this stage now. But Ponce over the line, and nice victory for him as well.
Yes, indeed. We're going to have to figure out exactly there what happened to Russell Burton. Eric Kulaga able to come home second, followed by Brandon Maling, rounding out that top three there. Daniel Floria, the lone McLaren in the field, able to bring that car home sixth in class for HRL. So a good drive there for them. That car always tricky to drive. So always impressive when that thing is able to see the start-finish line. Waiting for the last couple of drivers to cross over here, but Ewan, an action-packed race out there, absolutely bumping and banging really and truly the entire way. But it's got to be said here that I think we're setting the stage pretty well for this second, more long race.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a few drivers who dropped out of that one, especially looking at Jeremy Littleton in the pro category there. Didn't get to the end there. It didn't get very far at all, actually, in that race. He'll be starting from second place in the pro category. I think he'll just be behind Chris Long. He'll be on the front row, and he's going to be one to watch because he saw how quick he was in the qualifying session. But obviously DNF from this one. We'll see what he can do in race 2.
And there are your provisional results there on the day. A good day out there for Twisted Racing Team, with Tenorio and Timms taking 2 of the podium positions. Kai DL, a privateer, in P2. Your Ariel Urexoy and Dave Menino rounding out your top 5, with Gary Brown, Drew Swank, Harry Wills, Alex Trevor, and Mark Chapman in the top 10. The Eclipse Racing Esports Solar driver of Shane Larson came home in 11th. The Twisted Racing driver of James Pierce, 12th. James Howard, Chris Long, and Jeremy Littleton, a lot of those drivers there at the end of the field, as you said, some pretty quick drivers that had some bad luck in that start of it. I think they're going to be looking to make up some ground in this second race as they go. But Ewan, what about the AM winners here today?
Yeah, let's see those results, shall we? As I say, it was nearly 5 seconds of a margin for Fabian Ponce in the end. For Eric Kulaga, managed to get second ahead of Braden Merling. Then it was Justin Delano and Jeff Carolla. All of those guys very close across the line. Daniel Flore a little bit further back in that McLaren. James Hebb 7th, then Michael Kulaga. Then Eric Blumenkrantz recovered from his spin to finish 9th. And Russell Burton dropped to 10th. Not entirely sure how or why, but he was leading earlier. Drops to 10th in this race. Matthew Plaisance finished in 11th ahead of Andrew Hewitt. That was Charles Bushell, John Casey and Michael Fowler, who managed to get to the end. Stephen Martinez and Casey Metzger dropped lap in that race and finished at 16th and 17th respectively.
All right, folks. Well, that is going to close out our coverage for the first race here, but we're going to go to a break really quick while we get all the grid reset up for you for race number 2. Again, this is going to be a 50-minute race and an inversion of both the pro and the AM fields. So like we said, we are going to go to a quick break, but do not go anywhere because we will be back with some more great action from Road America.
push me so badly. I know you love me hardly. Don't push me badly. I know you love me hardly. Push me so badly. I know you love me hardly. Don't push me badly. I know you love me hardly. Push me so badly. I know you love me hardly. Don't push me badly. Push me so badly. I know you love me hardly. Don't push me badly. I know you love me hardly. Push me so badly. I know you love me hardly. Don't push me badly. I know you love me hardly. Push me so badly. I know you love me hardly. Don't push me badly. I know you love me hardly.
Welcome back to the Race Anywhere World Series GT3 Championship. My name is DJ Clark, joined here in the booth by Ewan O'Leary with David Christie as our director and producer behind the scenes. We continue to be here at the beautiful Road America circuit, and Ewan, we are getting ready for race number 2, a 50-minute race out on this track with a jumbled up grid that is a one-way ticket for excitement.
Yeah, it is going to be exciting. Bit longer of a race, as you say, 50 minutes. Inverted grid, which is going to make things exciting. Also a pit stop in there as well. These cars are limited to 50% of their usual fuel capacity, so they'll be able to go about 35 minutes at most. We may even see some pit stoppers after only 20 minutes. Those trying to get out of traffic maybe and trying to get up the order in that way didn't really work, although Alex Urenga did make up a position by doing that ahead of Thomas Cope in the second race in the EU category earlier on today. It didn't really work because the only reason he did that was because he had a shorter pit stop time anyway, so it would have happened anyway. But are we going to see that real undercut work today, or are we going to see everybody run it out a little bit further than what we saw earlier? It's all added to the kind of intrigue of this race, and yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what is going to happen over the 50 minutes of this race.
Yeah, we certainly are, and if you are just now tuning in, today is a press day out there, so no points being awarded for any of the drivers, but this is certainly a time to get used to the cars, to get used to your competitors, and for everything to get sort of ironed out in the running order as we go. And so days like this, absolutely paramount when it comes to running, and for the drivers out there, I think one of the biggest things is getting used to who you are racing around you, and as that can be such a huge determining factor in the way that you yourself race over the course of the season.
It is a big grid, but the Pro and Am splits mean that you do actually get to learn the other drivers quite well, and you will do, and that all starts today, of course, with the people you have raced already, and of course you'll get to know everybody quite well with the reverse grids. You'll be passing, I'm fairly sure, over the season. Those who do the whole season will pass every other driver who does the whole season as well. It's going to be that crazy over this season. It's a great opportunity to kind of start that learning process. And as you say, it's a learning for the organisers as well as the drivers as well. I can tell you that already from the EU Championship, we are already running a bit smoother and a bit more to schedule. Things have speeded up a little bit, which is what we like to see. We don't want to be waiting around ages between each of these races. The drivers don't, and spectators don't, and everybody doesn't. So the organisers getting things nice and smoothed out, and by the time we get towards the Mon and the openers of this season, season, it is going to be even better than this.
For sure it is. And let's go ahead and run you through the grid here for the pro drivers. As we said, a complete invert here. So some of the fast drivers starting at the back, but lining up in pole position. It will be the number 31 of Jeremy Littleton with Chris Long to his outside. Shane Larson will be P3, followed by Mark Chapman. Alex Trevor and Harry Wills will be in row 3. Drew Swank will be 7th, followed by Gary Brown with Dave Menino and Aero Urexoy in P10. Dean Timms will line up in 11th with Kai DL alongside him in 12th. And then bringing up the back of the field there in pros, it will be the Race 1 winner, Dan Tenorio. Ewan, what about the AM category?
Casey Metzger, the driver that completed the least laps out of the AM category, unfortunately, in that first race, gets this reward by being on the pole here. We'll see what he can do from there alongside Stephen Martinez. Michael Fowler and John Casey are going to be lining up on the second row, with Charles Boschel rounding out your top 5. Andrew Hewitt will be sick bed of Matthew Pleasance. Then it's going to be Russell Burton in the 8th place. What can he do from there ahead of Eric Blumenkrantz and Michael Kalaga rounding out the top 10? Then it's James Hebb and Daniel Florea rounding up the 12th position in that beautiful McLaren. Jeff Carollo will be 13th ahead of Justin Delano. That's Braden Melling in 15th, Eric Kalaga 16th, Fabian Ponce and Jonathan Whitmoyer will be your final driver. Whitmoyer did not participate in the first race, I don't believe, so he's bringing up the rear for this one as well if he's got going, although I don't believe so. And I don't believe that Casey Metzger has actually got going, actually. He was supposed to be starting on pole from the AM category, but I can't see him at the moment anywhere out there at the moment. I don't think the 15 will be taking the start.
I have to agree with you there. That number 15 Lamborghini not showing up for me as well, although he is connected here in the sim, so not sure what's going on there with that. As we work our way here around on this pole, or this pace lap, I do want to give yet again a massive shout out to our sponsors for tonight's event. Race Anywhere, Sim 3D, Go for the Gap, Absolute Sim Racing, and of course, World Series Leagues. None of this would be possible without all of them coming on board to present this incredible series that we are able to be a part of over the next 10 weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be a great season. I was speaking about the track selection earlier on with Zach Sweeney in the EU part of this broadcast. There's no real tracks that are real strange ones that you might see on a calendar. They're all big tracks that are universally recognisable. Starting off, of course, with Le Mans, which everybody knows about, and finishing off with Daytona, which, of course, everybody knows about as well. And so, yeah, that's great to see, really, in this calendar. It is a nicely formed calendar. It is going to be a good season as well. Hopefully, we get kind of a championship battle as well to live up to that. We've seen a great race in the great 2 races earlier. Good first race here. Now we'll see what those can do. Jumping through the field in this reverse grid. Especially excited to see what Jeremy Littleton can do here, because he was strong in qualifying, qualified second for the first race, but has got a great starting position in this second race. Is he going to run away and be completely untouched during this one? I can't see that situation happening. Of course, he does have to do the business over the 50 minutes, so let's see if he can.
Let's see if he can indeed. And now I want to pose another question to you here, Ewan. If you are Dan Tenorio, Kai DL, Dean Timms, these drivers that we know we have pace back in the field, what is your strategy here? Are you going full attack here in the early couple of laps, or are you going to hold back a little bit and let this race come to you?
Well, maybe for the first few corners it might be more about accident avoidance, but certainly right from the very start you have to get on it. You have to be picking off these cars one by one. Don't try and overtake them all in one go down into turn 1 or down into turn 5 on the first lap. That's exactly where you need to exercise a bit of caution, because there could well be incidents here as there were in the first race. However, you do still need to be going up the order fairly quickly. You do need to be picking them off one by one. So expect to see Tenorio try and make a few moves, maybe even on lap 1, but certainly as lap 2 and 3 and they get on with it, you can't let the leaders get too far away. You do need to make some progress.
Well, we're going to have answers to what those strategies will be in just about a corner and a straightaway's time as Jeremy Littleton brings the field out of the final corner there. Chris Long pulling up to his outside in that black BMW. The field forms up in the pro category, climbing the hill, waiting for Barney the Flagman to put that green piece of cloth in the air and signal to our drivers that we are ready to go racing. And as we watch the flag stand, There goes the flag. We are racing again in Road America. It is a great start there from Littleton. A little bit of side-by-side, a little bit of shoving there almost as Chris Long tries to push Shane Larson down to the inside a little bit. The field starting to space itself out. That's going to be Larson having to come back into the inside. The first couple of corners looking to be pretty clean there as they run. No big incidents like we saw on the last one. The pro category here being a little bit more calm, cool, and collected on this first lap.
Yeah, it looks like everything's run a bit smoother than it did last time around. Everybody just, as I said before, exercising that little bit of caution through those opening couple of corners, which is exactly what you need. And it looks like that might have happened at least at the front of the AM category. It's very strung out again, pretty much single file for the top 10 as they run down there. Jeremy Littleton, after a good start, is coming under pressure into turn 5. Long looking to make his way through. It's a nice switchback up the inside into turn 6, and he might make this work.
Oh, that is so tricky to get that braking zone right up into turn 6, but it looks like Long is going to hold it and cuts across the nose of the Audi. That is going to be the number 90 BMW up into the lead of the race. Littleton has to worry about getting swamped there as Larson almost trying to move down to the inside there of turn 8. Jumping back here in the middle of the pack a little bit, that is Dean Timms, one of the drivers that we talked about, looking like he is in full attack mode. He is already up one position, trying to make it a few more. We've had a car off in the back there. That's one of the Lamborghinis, I believe. That may be Carollo.
Yeah, Carollo and Blumenkrantz as well has had some problems on this opening lap. And you see how stretched out it is so early on in this AM category. They must have got on with it very early. Oh, onto the... Oh, dearie me. If Carollo was an innocent bystander in that one. Not sure who the Ferrari is there. But just got on the curve in the wrong way.
And we have had a massive incident coming down into Canada corner for the leaders. I see Larson and Littleton both off. Heavy damage there. A little bit of a bowling ball effect as they went down.
Right, it's not Jeremy Littleton's day, is it? Look at that bent rear wing now. He's going to have to come into the pit lane and probably make 2 stops in this race. Unfortunately, there's Shane Larson picking gravel pieces out of his car as well. The 2 of them come into contact at Canada corner. We'll hopefully get a replay as to all of the start of this. Here it is. Inside line for Larson. He tries to get down the inside, but he was always steaming into that corner. And Littleton, unfortunately, was on the receiving end of it.
Yes, he was, and that's going to rear him right around into that tire barrier and some pretty significant damage to the Audi there. We watch on board from Shane Larson. That was a gap that was always going to disappear. He was always going to understeer through that corner.
Well, I don't think it was a case of the gap disappearing, but I think it was just a case of he's broken too late there. He's never making that apex. He's going steaming into the side of that Audi there. And so, there's not a lot you can do once you are committed like that, but just needed a little bit more caution. We were talking about it before the start. Need a little bit more caution on that one, especially into Canada corner. And, they needed a bit of back there as well, because Chapman's gone around, and here, Matthew Plaisance and Florea have both gone around. A bit of a more hectic start to race 2.
A little bit more of a hectic start, and I have some bad news there that I think that may have been the netcode gods coming into play with Drew Swank as he tried to get by Chapman. There was a good amount of air in between the 2 cars, and it just looked like they collided. So unfortunately there, a little bit of netcode coming to bite here on the iRacing service.
Yeah, and it's not exactly surprising because Chapman is from Australia, if his iRacing code thing there is to be believed. Which I would believe. It's obviously a connection problem, being so far the opposite side of the world. But yeah, we'll see if we can get a replay of that one in a few moments' time to really see what happened. Yeah, just a little bit silly so early on in this race. It's a 50-minute race, which is a decent amount of time. Obviously, you've got to sit around all day long, but you've got a decent amount of time. You don't need to be making real do-or-die moves so early on in these races. But a lot of people have come to blows so early. And it is a shame to see 2 real big contenders, Littleton and Chapman, both going to be in the pit lane at the end of this lap.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Drew Swank going to continue on, though, as he leads a little bit of a train of cars behind him. Menino, Timms, and DL, as Alex Trevor sets the fastest lap of the race from P2 right now, trying to close down on Chris Long. But there was that train that we talked about. Kai DL into the back of it, up 5 positions in that Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, trying to close in on Dean Timms, who is also up 5 positions. Now going to have a little bit of a look to the inside of turn 3. That's a little bit of a hairy braking zone there for DL. He's not going to back out of it, but he's going to lose time.
He broke fairly early there. It was a bit of a half-hearted lunge, and so he didn't really want to go through there, and in the end didn't. Just looking at Tenorio, because he was with these guys, I do wonder if he was the one who got into contact with Chapman there. through this very corner at last lap, because he's dropped down to 11th. DL and Tim's have made good progress, but Tenorio really hasn't. There he is in the Mercedes in the background. I said he needs to take it easy through the first lap or two maybe, but making it maybe a little bit too easy.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too easy, as here is Dean Timms able to get around Drew Swank there. That is going to be for P5. Now it looks like it's going to be Kai DL trying to see if he can get a little bit of a move onto the BMW going down into turn 8. We've seen a lot of aggression going down into that corner and also a lot of slides. A very tricky corner to get right, but now the BMW starts to flex its muscle a little bit, started to close a little bit there through the middle of the carousel, but I think some of the aero wash, some of the understeer coming into play there maybe had to back out of it a little bit, and that gap holding at about 0.28 seconds as they run. Here comes Ariel Rexoy through the kink.
Wow, that was a scintillating corner there for him, and he's almost overtaken him with one fell swoop. There it is, down the inside of Brown, and he could do nothing in the Porsche at all. That was amazing from Rexoy through the kink. He was so committed. This is the outbraking manoeuvre into Canada corner. Just nicely done. The work was done by that point. It was the swoop through the kink. He makes his way up into 8th place. That was a great overtake in a place that you don't often see them.
Indeed, very, very tricky. And here comes another move being set on Drew Swank. This is Kai DL trying to see what he can do in that Mercedes. It's going to be a little bit of a drag race, and the draft coming into play there for Kai DL, as he's going to be able to pull ahead of the BMW and keep himself right in behind Dean Timms there. Now both drivers up 6 positions. Right up ahead of them in the Audi, that is going to be Dave Menino, who is also up 5 positions. These drivers that started farther back in the field, they are working their way up forward.
Yeah, the problem is there's a 6-second gap up to the 3 leaders after that, so these two I feel like are going to just struggle to get to the very front of the race unless they really do get a move on very quickly and put some real lap times in over the next few laps. Oh my goodness, that was very late on the brakes from Dean Timms once again, and it's too late on the brakes. Seen him do it time and time again today. Kai DL goes through. It looks like Swank might try and get his way through as well, and he does successfully.
And here is that battle for the lead. Chris Long leading Alex Trevor, followed by Harry Wills. These drivers are separated only by about 0.9 of a second as they work through the carousel right now. BMW versus Mercedes. Wills looks like he's the one with the best run here, getting that gap under 2.5 of a second as they run flat out through the kink for the drivers. And here the draft comes into play. Does Harry Wills have anything here in the 95, or is he going to play this a little bit calmer? Gap coming down underneath 0.2 of a second. Looks like Harry's going to choose discretion as the better part of valor and back off a little bit going down into Canada corner.
It's just watching these two, just waiting for something to happen really, and I think that is the best place to be. It is the best idea. It's not obvious who is the fastest out of the 3 of them, so just sitting back and evaluating the situation is not a bad idea. As I say, with just over 40 minutes to go, we go on board now with the UK driver. We'll see. We'll see what happens ahead here, because Trevor has got a slipstream. Will he make this move into turn 1? He's inching closer and inching alongside now into turn 1.
Here he goes, as we said, not the hardest of braking zones down into turn 1, but Alex Trevor makes it look easy there, able to get that Mercedes up ahead of the BMW M4 GT4. Now takes a defensive line, GT3, excuse me, now takes a defensive line going down into turn 3, pushing him offline a little bit, and that's going to open up the door for Harry Wills.
He is going to try and follow through, and this is exactly why he should have been sat back and waiting for those two to fight it out, because he can do this. He can step through the open door, and that's what he's going to do on the outside line into turn 5 by the looks of things. Trevor will have to maybe just cover him off a little bit, but down the inside for the BMW, it's a nice swinging line for Harry Wills, and he's going to get into that 2nd place.
Yes, he is, and there may have been a little bit of orangey-bargy there between the two. I thought I saw that number 95 just bounce ever so slightly. But rest assured here that I don't think Chris Long is going to let this go too quietly. Harry Wills taking every inch of the track there on the exit of turn 7 as he focuses his sights up ahead on the number 50 right now, trying to see if he can close in on the lead.
These two look like they're going to get away. I said earlier on that it wasn't obvious which of the 3 of them was the quickest. It certainly looks like the BMW is lacking that little bit of speed at the moment, as there's not only leading battles going on in the Pro category, but in the AMS as well. Stephen Martinez converting a front row start, a pole position indeed. Well, can we call it pole? But anyway, he started first, and he still is after 10 minutes.
Yes, he is. The Vulture Motorsports blue driver here holding off Michael Fowler there behind him in the BMW. And I'd be a little bit worried about that BMW. Very, very notoriously quick in a straight line. We've got a little bit of action there as Swank getting very squirrely going down into Canada corner, running that car off wide. A little bit of a checkup there. I think that may have been Dean Timms that got a little bit involved in it, and he's going to be back down in the order.
That was very, very messy indeed. Swank was far too much down the inside there. Didn't cause an accident, but he certainly caused himself to, well, he didn't gain anything, put it that way. And it did cause all a bit of a chain reaction. Dean Timms tried to take a bit of advantage of this, I think. He had to slow down, because if you see DL there just trying to slow down to try and adjust his line, and Dean Timms has to check up maybe a little bit as well, maybe distracted by that slightly, or maybe just went around completely on his own. But either way, he's down to 11th now. He's going to be furious with himself.
He certainly is, as we focus back in on the fierce battle for the lead right now as Trevor tries to hold off Harry Wills. Wills going to get a good helping of draft here going down the Moraine sweep. Is he going to have a look to the inside of 5? Yes, he is. It's going to be a battle of the late breakers, and Harry decides to back off there a little bit. Oh, and that's some front-to-rear contact with Chris Long from behind.
That kind of contact that can so easily result in either one or both of the cars going around, but thankfully neither of them did on that occasion, and Wills is able to continue applying the pressure here to Trevor, who is hanging on to this lead by a thread at the moment. He was getting away briefly from, they were both distancing the BMW, but now that they've started this fight, it's all back into play again, and the three of them continue to fight this out. The gap now to Mendoneo is 5.5 seconds, just illustrating the fact that they are all losing time while they're doing this.
Yeah, they certainly are, and Dave Benino is going to be hoping to try to close that gap a little bit more. Remember, this 50-lap race, we've got about 48 minutes left to go, so plenty of times for things to fire off. Harry Wills getting another good helping of the draft here, going down through Kettle Bottoms. He's going to have a look to the inside, going down into Canada corner. Not going to say go there. He's going to hold back in line. Looks like Trevor may have run a little bit wide there on the exit of the corner, and he certainly has to be feeling a little bit of the pressure as does Harry Wills. That was a little bit squirrely coming through Bill Mitchell Bend.
That was quite wide, and it was quite wide from Trevor there, actually, through the final corner, but he looks like he's got a decent exit. But of course, it's a very long straight down towards turn 1. Wills might have an opportunity as further back, the battles are relentless. Your Exoy is once again slightly off the road there and back down to 10th position. You've got to be careful with all these off tracks as Dean Timms is around as well in the final corner.
Yeah, Dean Timms having a little bit of a spin. I think he just goosed the throttle a little bit. Oh, great run there for Harry Wills off of turn 1. Now going to make the look down into turn 3. He's going to be later on the binders. Swoops that Twisted Racing Mercedes up ahead, and that is Harry Wills up into P1.
Don't often see moves through turn 3, but if you do get that run out of the first turn, then you might as well go for it, and that's what he did. But will he be able to hang on to it? That's why you don't often go for it, because you're so easily repassed down here into turn 5, although it looks like Trevor was more than happy to just stay behind him for the moment, and that's what he will do with Long also sitting in at 4 now. But yeah, oh dear, who's this? Matthew Plaisance, I'm afraid, has gone off at Canada corner as well.
And that looks to be some pretty hefty impact. Let's go back and check this. The Ferrari driver for Eclipse Racing Esports Lunar comes down into the corner, just carries a little bit too much speed, catches that gravel, and that is a hard ka-thunk into the tire barriers.
Yeah, just a slight misjudgment, and it's got him in the gravel on the outside, sent him into the inside wall as well, as your Exoy's had problems here as well. He's dropped down to 11th, and he's now in the AM category. Cars, see what happened to him down into turn 5. It's a late break from the Porsche in front, but he's all right. And then it might come back onto... Oh, well, something has gone on technically there. I think that is obvious. Made possibly a pop-up come up on his screen there that made he can't see. So he had to stop and clear that with the mouse and everything, and then get back going again. But I don't really have any other explanation for that.
Yeah, nor do I. One of those little technical gremlins that sometimes works its way into sim racing here. You know, we don't have mechanical failures necessarily in these cars on the simulator, but some of those little gremlins that you have certainly mimic that in real life. As we watch here, Alex Trevor, if you thought that Harry Wills was going to run away with this, Alex Trevor has different things to tell you, keeping nice and close behind that number 95 here as they dive into turn 1.
The GT3 do seem very well matched on pace at the moment, but what's more impressive is the fact that the times across the board in this field at the moment are very, very similar. Even down to the first AM car of Stephen Martinez and Michael Fowler. They're battling 1-2 in AM at the moment, but they're matching times of the leaders, really. It was a 2-minute 5.5 from Harry Wills on that last lap, a 2-minute 5.8 from Martinez. He only lost 0.3 of a second to the race leader here. The field is remarkably close, even at a circuit as long as Road America.
Yeah, that is absolutely remarkable to see those times. As here we've got a little bit of a pass. That's going to be Dan Tenorio and Swank trying to get into it. And I think that is going to be Tenorio just kind of getting his muscles out there, that they're going to keep that battle going up into turn 6. Side by side, Swank trying to fight a little bit of oversteer up through the corner, and that's going to give the position to Tenorio.
Yeah, he's made maybe slower progress than some would expect, and he is in trouble now. I mentioned this earlier on. He does need to make progress early on in this race, or he did need to, because you've got to stay close to the leaders. He hasn't been able to do that, really. In terms of where he is from the leaders now, how far back is he? Well, it's got to be approaching 15 seconds, possibly, between 10 and 15 seconds at this stage, even for him, and even with over half an hour to go. That is quite a big margin to close in completely on your own there, even though these guys are fighting a little bit. As I mentioned, the times are so close. Tenorio hasn't really done enough here to go back-to-back, like Alex Urenga very nearly did in the EU earlier on.
Yes, indeed. In this battle, ooh, little bit of a sketchy moment there for Harry Wills coming out of the final corner there. And didn't seem to lose him a lot of time, though. It's been able to grow that gap up to about 0.5 of a second as they run, although Trevor's starting to pull in a little bit. And once they get onto the main straightaway, I'd keep my eyes focused there on Chris Long, though, back in that number 90 BMW. He backs off a little bit going into turn 1, opting to do that. And we've got our first taker on a pit stop here. It looks like Shane Larson in the Lamborghini going to come on down the lane.
It's about the earliest you can probably go for here. 33 minutes to go. It's all pretty much on the ropes, that is, for making it to the end from here. You can be sure this is planned, and well, you'd hope it's planned, and it's a strategy that he's employing. But first of all, he's going to find himself in all the AM traffic, and he's going to find himself possibly with fuel headaches as well. But let's wait and see how that pans out for him. I suppose if you're in the mid-pack like he was, then there's no point really doing the same as everyone else does. You're just going to finish where you were, so just trying something a little bit different. But I can't see it really working out too well for him.
Yeah, nor can I. It's a bit of an aggressive strategy there from him. We focus back here. This is Russell Burton running P2 in the AM category. He's lost a little bit of time up to Martinez ahead of him, and he's got a new sparring partner behind him. That is Michael Fowler in the fellow BMW. This looks like it's starting to be a battle for P2 rather than for P1.
Yeah, Martinez just being allowed to get away that little bit. Although saying that, Russell Burton, let's not forget how strong he was early on in race 1. And he fell away towards the end. He really did fade towards the end of that race. So, and he recently passed Fowler. So it might be possible for him to close in on the likes of Dean Timms and Stephen Martinez out front. But let's wait and see on that one as the battle for the pro win continues on. I don't think Alex Trevor wants to go through here at the moment, though. I think he has got the pace to go through, or at least the racecraft and the overtaking opportunity. But I just don't think he wants to.
Well, and this is about the 5th time there as we see Harry Wills running wide at the exit of the carousel. I think Harry is under a lot of pressure here. He really and truly looks like he is driving that car on the ragged edge. We've seen him kick over. As Dave Menino's had a problem coming out of the final corner, and he is going to take a tow back down into pit lane.
Yeah, a bit strange because the pit entry is only there. But anyway, he's gone for the pit lane, and he's just on the grass, isn't he? Out into the tire. Wow. Okay, I actually think that car was undrivable, actually. I kind of laughed at him for not driving it in, but I actually think it was physically impossible. I suppose there must have been a reason for him not to do that, and yet I think he is completely out of this race now. Shame to see, but I'm sure he'll be back stronger at Le Mans. Just look at that, though. That Mercedes there, Trevor, you saw the way he was gaining. I think he's lifting off here. I think he's fuel saving to try and give himself the shortest stop possible when we get to that stage in about 10 minutes' time.
Yeah, I think you could be right about that. And the point I was making there about Harry is he's really driving this car on the ragged edge. We're seeing lots of snaps of oversteer in that Mercedes-AMG GT3 Evo, and that's not normally something you see in that car. It tends to be a very planted platform that you can really lean on going this way and that. As we've got a little bit of an error there for Blumenkrantz, that he had a problem off there in the back. And so, yeah, I've got to think here that Harry's driving that car on the ragged edge, and I think maybe if you're Trevor, you don't need to necessarily try to get by Harry. You just want to keep applying as much pressure as possible.
And saving that little bit of fuel, as I say, to shorten your pit stop as Russell Burton goes off the road, I'm afraid, at turn 6. Oh, it's clipping on the grass over the crest into the gravel, and then you can't really see trying to get back going again. Very difficult to rejoin safely, so he drops to 4th. He's not out of it yet, certainly in terms of a podium. He might be able to get it, but yeah, that classic mistake. Excuse me, as we go back to the leaders again. I think you're right, Harry Wills is certainly on the ragged edge at the moment, and Trevor just wants to shorten that final pit stop as John Casey off the road at turn 1 as well.
Yeah, seen a lot of drivers running afoul of the grass here on corner entry, and that's kind of one of the things about Road America. On a lot of other circuits that you see, you'll have a little bit of asphalt, you'll have a little bit of curving to be able to get out onto the outside there to set up the corner. Not here at Road America. It is a very, very tight, this is the track, this is not when you're looking at corner entry, and that's catching quite a few drivers out there tonight as Harry Wills catches the little bit of the oopsie moment there on the outside. I think maybe bottoming out over the curbs there.
It does get pretty ragged on the outside. Excuse me, of those of that corner there. Once again, Trevor just lifts off going down towards turn 5. He's got to keep an eye on his mirror though, because Long is particularly strong into those braking zones. I'm not entirely sure if it is just because Trevor is lifting off quite so much, but he really does need to keep an eye on his mirrors as Andrew Hewitt, I'm afraid, goes off at Canada Corner. Not the first issue he's had today. He's down in 16th. Matthew Pleasant, we saw earlier on, retire from this race. He's still not been able to overtake him.
No, he certainly has not. As we focus our eyes back up on the battle for the lead in the Pro category, let's ride on board with Harry Wills here as he maintains about that 0.3 of a second advantage over Alex Trevor. Coming down out of the carousel, let's see. That's a little bit more of a collected line there for him as he now flies his way down into the kink.
Just slightly misses the apex there, but doesn't run it all the way out wide because it is very dangerous indeed. We saw that earlier in the EU race. 2 Ferraris from the Pro category having big race-ending accidents actually at that particular corner. One was, of course, in a battle, but one on your own as well. Just because you're on your own doesn't mean you're free from danger around that corner. It's pretty much everywhere on this circuit, particularly if you're driving Harry Wills' car. Oh, and there it is! He goes too wide into the final corner, gets a wheel onto the grass, and that is his stint in the race lead over.
Yes, it is into Harry Wills. We have to apologize for the commentator's curse coming from the booth. My goodness gracious. Just got a little bit wide there, as you said, Ewan. Picked up a little bit of that grass coming on in, and just that couple of millimeters there with the left rear tire, and that's enough to send that Mercedes spinning.
You can see it right from the start of that braking zone there. He enters the corner wrong. It all starts from the moment he applies the brakes. He's got he's too far to the inside when he applies the brakes. Traditionally, you don't really want to be turning and also braking at the same time. He was trying to avoid that. He was trying to make his braking as straight as possible. But if he starts that braking portion just a little bit further to the left, so he can open up the corner a little bit more, and he doesn't have to, run quite as wide during that braking phase, and he can avoid running into the grass there and going for that spin. He's kind of cut his losses there by going into the pit lane. It's a smart choice from him, but he will be outside the top 3 when that all shakes out, there's no doubt.
And speaking of running wide there, you saw Dean Timms taking a little bit of an unorthodox line as Andrew Hewitt looking like he's had a problem coming through Canada Corner. That car getting turned the wrong way around. Looking at that Ferrari, doesn't look like there's too much damage. This was that incident with Dean Timms. Just too much speed into the corner, and that sent him way out onto the grass there, extending that corner. Frankly, very lucky that he didn't lose it there on the first part of that or on the rejoin.
So that's Hewitt's second issue at Canada Corner in 2 laps. Yeah, I'm surprised Dean Timms is still outbraking himself so often, because I've seen him do that so many times today. I just think he should rein it in just a little bit and get that corner entry down and get a bit faster out of the corners instead, because I've seen him outbrake himself so many times here today. Especially need that at Le Mans. You can't go deep into one of the Mulsanne chicanes, for example, and get a terrible run onto the next part of the Mulsanne straight, because you'll get eaten alive. So hopefully we'll just mop that up ever so slightly for next week, and he'll be going well around there. But yeah, he's broken himself so many times today.
Yeah, he certainly has. As we focus here on Dean Timms in the battle with Errol Ureksoy, this is the battle for 7th place in the pro category right now as they run. And we are over the halfway point here, working on lap 13, 25.5 minutes down, and that is going to be the time for Dean Timms to come on down pit lane.
Yeah, it's good a time as any. He wants to split this race in half, really, as Justin Delano goes for a spin at Canada Corner. He was running 4th, under a bit of pressure, mind, but he was running in that 4th position, so let's see what happens here. He doesn't get rear-ended, does he? Oh, he does. Ouch. That's definitely on the BMW there, and so they may well receive a penalty for that one.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an issue there that the stewards may be taking a look at as we go. Got a nice little battle starting to develop itself up for P3 in the pro category, though. I want to draw your attention to Kai DL holding off Dan Tenorio as they go, as we take one more look there. Oh, that was a hit from behind from Delano.
Yeah, it was Merling, I think. Braden Merling, excuse me, to got into the back there, unfortunately. So yeah, be absolutely right. Battle for 3rd is going on in pro at the moment, and of course overall. DL versus Tenorio. DL wasn't able to get anywhere near Tenorio in the last race, of course. So the race winner from last time has just bided his time well, and he's up to 4th. Can they catch the leaders? Well, it's difficult to see him doing that, because Alex Trevor is putting down some 2-minute forwards of his own. So while Tenorio is putting down some of the fastest laps in the field, he's not exactly catching the leaders too much as we go back to that battle. This is Braden Merling, who I think did get into the back of Delano and may well receive a penalty. He's under pressure from now the McLaren, Florea.
Yes, he is, and Florea almost having that problem getting into the back there as well. I believe that is a lapped car there behind them, so not actually for position as they run. Let me double check that. Yeah, that is Jeff Carollo there in the Lamborghini, so that one was not for position. Focusing back on Kai DL and your race 1 winner, Dan Tenorio. They're going to find themselves coming out here in a little bit of traffic as well. Cars starting to come on out of pit lane. They've got Charles Bichelle and Fabien Ponce directly up ahead of them.
Yeah, this is the problem really with pitting early, especially for the pro guys. You're going to find yourself in a lot of traffic. A lot of AM traffic, so it's a bit of a disadvantage, but at this point in the race really there are cars absolutely all over the course. There's even cars that have been in the pit lane for extended periods of time with damage repairs coming back out again and being a little bit in the way and just hindering a few as well. So it's there are cars all over the place. There are I think 30 cars took the start of this race because Casey Metzger didn't. There's a few less than that now, but yeah, that does still mean there is plenty of traffic out there, and it's not particularly ideal, especially if you're on that early stop strategy, like the likes of Shane Larson we saw earlier on, and Hardy Wills now as well.
Well, the good news for Shane Larson is he was able to clear out ahead of some of the drivers that just came down pit lane, including Ureksoy, Burton, Mayling, and Florea, as they run. Here is Ureksoy coming on out of pit lane right now. As we said, plenty of drivers opting to take those stops here as we tick closer and closer to the 30 minutes down mark in this race. Still some interesting strategy to play out just to see who's going to be able to keep out this the longest. The drivers who have not pitted thus far: Trevor, Long, DL, Tenorio, Swank, Brown, Fowler, and Hebb. I'm also seeing Whitmore and Blumenkrantz farther back in the field also not opting to take their pit stops. But this battle between Kai DL and Dan Tenorio, very, very volatile here as this continues to be close within about 0.5 of a second.
They can't go on for too much longer because somebody's got a pit and it's going to be Tenorio. Dan Tenorio's in. I think this is the perfect call for him. He might be able to jump DL with this pit strategy instead of having to make the on-track overtake, which is always more risky and more time-consuming as well. So Tenorio is indeed into the pit lane. Where is he going to come out though? Especially in relation to Harry Wills. I'm very interested to see where he ends up in relation to him. Wills is just coming around Canada corner at the moment, around that portion of the racetrack, into these final few corners. Is he going to be out in front of those guys or not? Because we didn't really get a viewing on to where he rejoined again after his spin.
Yeah, we really didn't. Here's a problem for Jeff Carollo. He was a lap down, remember, runs a little bit wide there, coming down into turn 5 and then up into turn 6. Looks like he misses the braking zone and just tries to get the throttle down a little bit early. And that is such an easy corner to do that. You're coming uphill and then the track suddenly flattens out, no camber to help you whatsoever. And if you're a little bit too aggressive on the throttle, it bites you just like that.
Yeah, he's missing his rear engine cover as well, so that can't be helping with the rear downforce. Out of that corner as Dan Tenorio makes his way out of the pit lane now, and Harry Wills is nowhere near him really. He's going to be behind DL as well, might be behind Drew Swank. He's going to be close. I think he's going to be neck and neck actually, but it all depends on the pit stop times. We do see wild fluctuations in the EU category. We even saw as low as 13 seconds. Urexoy, for example, here has got 20 seconds at the moment. James Hebb just made a 24-second stop. Real big fluctuations in terms of what these guys are actually doing in terms of pit stop time, so that's interesting to see. Not entirely sure why. We might have to get to the bottom of that, but it is certainly influencing a fair few amount of these battles.
Yes, it is. And track temperatures, by the way, only about 87 degrees Fahrenheit out there, and even if they weren't, if they were a little bit warmer, 31 degrees Celsius, you're not going to be taking tires here for a 50-minute race. You can double stint those tires quite easily.
You can, especially in these longer endurance races. You see a lot of double stints pretty much throughout the entirety of the race. So no tyre changes here, not even one tyre you wouldn't go for, because of course you don't change tyres while you're refueling as well in the GT3 category. You've got to do them separately, as Carl DL and Drew Swank both come in the pit lane. This is going to be very interesting. Dan Tenorio, I think for my money, is going to be ahead of the both of them unless their pit stop times tell us something different. But what about Harry Wills, especially in the case of Drew Swank? Where is he going to be in relation to these two? Drew Swank driving through all the pit boxes there, which I don't reckon is allowed in this series, so he might get a slap on the wrist for that and sharpen up for the first round proper. But yeah, let's see if Dan Tenorio's undercut strategy has worked here on Kai DL, who's exiting the pit lane now.
Yes, he is. This is going to be pretty close as they run. And there it is going to be DL back onto the loud pedal. And there is going to be Tenorio. It looks like DL has been able to maintain that lead and indeed grow it.
He has 1 second shorter in terms of being in the box there. So that was Kyle DL's pit strategy call. If not for that, they would have been half a second apart, maybe less. So that little 1 second less on the fuel there, quite possibly, has maybe got him a position. Harry Wills has indeed come out neck and neck with Drew Swank. That is the battle for 7th position at the moment. It will probably become 6th when Gary Brown comes into the pit lane, as we've got Brendan Mailing into the pit lane at what I think is the final corner.
Yes, indeed. That was the final corner. They're having a little bit of problem. And now we watch Harry Wills. There's another car off there. I believe that was John Casey back in 25th. One of the AM drivers there having it a little bit of a hard way going down into turn 5. But now the pressure is going to be applied to Drew Swank as they run. Harry Wills only about 0.3 of a second behind. And Harry, no let up at all in that car, still running that Mercedes on the ragged edge as your leader, Alex Trevor, comes on down pit lane.
Does, and we'll see where he comes out in relation to those around, but of course his battle with Harry Wills very much not a battle anymore. Here is Wills fighting with Swank at the moment, and these two may well fight it out for pretty much the rest of this race. Good to see what Drew Swank can actually do with a front end on his car this time around in this race. Of course was missing that throughout the sprint race. What about Harry Wills down into Canada corner? It's a great run through the kink, and he doesn't decide to go for it here. That's a wild defence from Drew Swank. Watching his mirrors maybe too much, but he somehow managed to stop for that braking zone. I thought he was sailing off into the gravel there.
I for sure thought he was as well. That big squiggle there from the BMW, normally a sign that those brakes are not going to be locking in the way that you want them to and that the ABS will start kicking in, but he was able to do it. Here is Alex Trebor coming back in and out of pit lane. Is he going to be able to resume this lead of the race with no problems? Yes, it does indeed look that way, as the three drivers ahead of him, Chris Long, Gary Brown, and Michael Fowler, still have yet to pit, and we've got to believe that that will play itself out. Here is Dan Tenorio, though, trying to close back on the rear spoiler there of Kai DL. Look at how much he's been able to cut down. Remember, that gap was over a second a lap ago when they came out of the pits, and Tenorio able to slice it down to about 7/10.
And of course, his tyres and he will have been adjusted to everything that was going on at the time. DL will have had to have a little bit of time to get used to it all again, and so that may have contributed to it a little bit. But I reckon they're both catching. I reckon they're both catching Chris Long here, who's currently leading this race. Will probably be in at the end of this lap. This is Russell Burton going off at the final corner, by the way. Classic dip a wheel onto the grass for him there. But yeah, I reckon Chris Long might be looking over his shoulder in terms of protecting his second position later on in this race, because DL and Tenorio are reeling him in, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. And Long comes down pit lane right now. So waiting to see here if Gary Brown and Michael Fowler are going to follow his lead as they run. We keep our eyes focused here on this battle between Drew Swank and Harry Wills. Wills having a good run through the carousel there. Looks like the aero wash not affecting him too much. Doesn't run wide at the exit of the carousel. Now coming down through the fearsome kink. And that draft is on. A little bit of a wide run there for Harry Wills, but Wills has no quit left in him. He's going to already dive to the inside. It's going to be a drag race going down into Canada corner. It's a battle of the late breakers. Who's it going to be? Harry Wills has got the preferred line. Harry Wills has the position.
Oh, great move through the kink there. It was all done through the kink, really, and then it gave him the inside line for that move. Swank, once again, very late on the brakes. He's been very impressive on the brakes, especially into Canada corner, but he wasn't able to save himself there. As out the pit lane comes Long. He's in front of Trebor here. This is a lead battle here. And Chris Long has managed to jump Alex Trebor in the pit lane. His pit stop was 1.7 seconds shorter, and out of nowhere, he's now leading this race.
And the plot thickens as the race begins to close itself down, and crucially here as they run, that is Alex Blumenkrantz in between the two. That is a massive gap here for Chris Long. He's got it up to 3.5 seconds and has a lapped car in between himself and Trebor.
Oh Christ, yeah, you're absolutely right. What has happened here? I don't reckon Trebor has had a great outlap here, because as I said, that's 1.7 seconds. I reckon that was about the gap between the two of them before. Why is Chris Long all of a sudden so far in front of Alex Trebor in this race? I am puzzled as to that one. Surely there must have been a problem. He must have struggled to find his pit box, or a spin on his outlap or in-lap. Well, we would have noticed if it was in-lap, maybe outlap, I don't know. No idea, but that has changed dramatically. Something has gone on other than the pit stop time there.
Yeah, it certainly has, and we will have to see if we can talk to them at the conclusion of the race, figure out exactly what happened there as Chris Long just continues to stretch his legs. That gap, 3.5 seconds as they run for the number 90 BMW M4 GT3 driver, really pushing the pedals here.
Yeah, and he's in control. 12 minutes to go, 6 laps at the line here. Long to be able to get through here. This is remarkable from him. Unbelievable. I can't quite believe he managed to do that. Hearing possibly, I didn't quite catch that, possibly an incident on the outlap or something a bit slower on the outlap there for Alex Trebor.
Yeah, hearing that was about about 13 seconds slower potentially there on the outlap for Trebor. My goodness.
Yeah, that's well, I would expect the gap to be bigger if it was 13, but yeah, I mean, wow, I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, we're not 100% sure as to what's happened, as you mentioned there. But yeah, it's a real shock. I'm very surprised, I have to say.
Yeah, very surprised as well. But Chris Long looking to be in relative control of the field. But I'll tell you who's not in control of their own destiny right now, and that's the battle for P3 in the pro category right now. Kai DL continuing to try to hold off Dan Tenorio. Remember, this was a battle that we were following earlier on, and we thought it may sort itself out with Tenorio being able to get himself by after the pit stops. Well, Tenorio now having a little bit of a look going down into turn 5. This could get a little bit spicy.
He was very close this time around last lap, but didn't go for the move really. He wasn't, not with any conviction anyway. And once again, doesn't really go through with it at all there. And so this battle for P3 will rumble on again. And he stays behind. I mean, even for a P3 for Tenorio here, if we're talking about this kind of previewing the championship up ahead, he would score 82 points out of today, which would be, obviously we're not scoring any points today, just to preface that, but he would score 82 points with a first and a third here if he's able to go through with his pass on DL. And DL will probably be the next closest with about 77. But even so, you know, it's still a very good day to finish first and third. Even though Tenorio might feel that he had the pace to maybe win both races, still 2 podiums is not bad at all, especially considering he had to start from the back of the pro field here.
Yeah, indeed it is. We focus back on a battle here in the AM category. This is Justin Delano trying to hold off Russell Burton there behind. A battle of the German marks as they go. Porsche versus BMW. Very, very wide line going down into turn 5 there for Delano, but a big squiggle there for, that was Burton behind. Thank you.
Yes, there we are. There's so many cars. But yeah, it was, that battle looks to be over, really. Burton's mistake there has really undone him, and then the slide out turn 5 as well, as these two go up towards at the first corner again, towards the BMW. That confused me greatly a minute ago. DL trying to hold off Tenorio, and he will do into turn 1. He does this fairly consistently and fairly confidently through into turn 1. It's turn 5 where things go wrong, and another wheel on the grass for Harry Wills, who's gone, lawn mowing out through the penultimate corner, and again through the final corner. Dear me.
Well, we've talked about Harry Wills really looking like he is driving that number 95 on the ragged edge, and that is going to allow there for Drew Swank to temporarily get on by. We've got a little bit of lap traffic here playing into everything. That is Blumenkrantz that Tenorio and DL are able to get by. Not going to set up a move there as they try to dive down now into the corner, waiting to see what it's going to be. Tenorio doesn't look like he wants the attack.
Really? He doesn't want to get into the back of DL, certainly, but he nearly did on a couple of occasions over the last couple of corners there. He is sort of running out of laps here, 4 laps at the line, which is still a little bit of time, but he can't afford to sit around all day long. I think he has realised that this is the best position he's going to get out of this race today. No, but even if something happens to those up in front, then he might gain something, I suppose, but he realises that this is the last pass he will really realistically make in this race, so he's really taking his time on it and making sure that it's done correctly and safely, really.
Yeah, he doesn't want to throw away things here. And yes, this isn't a point-scoring race. As we said, this is the media day for everybody to get used to things, but you want to keep yourself in that attitude when you're behind the car. Whoa, very close under braking as they run, and that maybe forced DL there on a little bit of an awkward line, but you don't want to throw things away if you're in this position. You want to take those high percentage moves.
Yeah, you would rather that, really, especially in this situation. As I said, Tenorio knows that this is his last on-track overtake of the race, in my opinion, or realistically it is, so he needs to make sure it's done properly, as Yuretskoy is on the back of Dean Timms. Both drivers will be expecting to be further up towards the front, in my opinion, during these races through the actual season, but both with issues today, and now battling over that 9th position.
Yeah, they continue to battle here. Ariel Yureksoy trying to close down on the back of Dean Timms here as we tick down with only about 7 minutes to go in this race. Little bit of a wide run there for Yureksoy as he came out of the corner, but still trying to close down on Timms. He's got it within draft range.
Indeed, let's see. It's a little bit far back, really, to be making a move here. Difficult to see him going down the inside into turn 1, but certainly setting this up for turn 5 is a better idea. Stay close through here and then get a nice run off of turn 3, although he's not really stayed that close through turn 1. Dean Timms should have this position going through turn 5, and yeah, that's a very nice run actually from him through there. Yuretskoy is going to really have to lunge if he wants to do this.
Yeah, I think he is. Dean Timms is not going to make this easy here on the number 63 Race Anywhere driver whatsoever. He is not going to want to sacrifice those positions at all. We continue to run down closer and closer to 5 minutes left to go, focusing back in on that battle that's just been simmering here really since the pit stops. Kai DL and Dan Tenorio, and you know, I get Tenorio here not wanting to make the overtake, not really wanting to go crazy into it as he goes, but we saw the closing pace that Tenorio was able to have. You've got to think he can find an opportunity on by.
I would think so. He's been hounding for a while now, but he doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you just absolutely cannot get through. This might be one of those occasions. We can't forget that Cardiel is a very good driver in his own right, and he's very strong at the final corner as well on that particular occasion, as Oro Uretsko is having a much better time, and things doesn't seem to be great through the real straight parts of the course where you can make the moves, but through the more twisty bits towards Canada Corner here, just seem to be a lot closer. So maybe that is the opening for him that he will need, but of course it is a lot more difficult.
It certainly is, and you saw there coming out of Canada Corner, a little bit of a wide run there for Dean Timms, the rear end stepping out on that car ever so slightly. Those are the kind of opportunities that Uretsoy is going to want to see as they go, and here it comes. Uretsoy down to what will be the inside of turn one. It's going to be a drag race down the start-finish straightaway. BMW versus Mercedes as they go. It'll be a battle of the late breakers now going into turn one. They are inches away from each other, and Uretsoy later on the binders able to get the move done.
Oh yeah, maybe a little bit later, but maybe Dean Timms just thinking better of it into turn one and deciding for a smoother run through to stay close through turn three and then have that move into five, because he is very strong out of that third corner, and so he might pick up a nice slipstream. Decent straight line speed on that new Mercedes as well, especially compared to the BMW, especially with the slipstream as well. Is there going to be an opening down the inside, or is it going to have to be an outside lunge? Well, he's not going to lunge anywhere. He's going to stay behind, and Uretso has got that ninth place.
Yes, he does, and it looked like there the Timms was looking for maybe a little bit of a crossover, but just not exactly able to get it done. Focusing back on the battle for P3 in the pro category, Kai DL continuing to hold off Dan Tenorio, and it looks like Tenorio has fallen back just a little bit here. I mean, let's be clear, he's fallen back to 0.3 of a second. It's not like he's dropping gobs of time.
Yeah, certainly seems to be that the case as we get on to 2 laps to go now, so found a couple of laps in this race, and can we see Tenorio get through here? I mean, it looks less and less likely with almost every corner that we go past here. It looks less and less likely that we actually see a move from one of these from Tenorio. Surely he can't just be happy to sit here. I mean, I would accept that if it was the point scoring on the line, if there were championship points on the line. He might know when to make a lunge, of course, but it is only the press day. Might as well go for it.
Yeah, come on, Dan. Let's have some fun here with this as he goes. Give us some excitement. As there, Guidio run a little bit wide on the exit of one. Dan Tenorio lining it up closer down into the braking zone if the Constantina effect starts to come into play, but he's able to keep a good corner exit there. That gap is going to be at about 2.5 of a second as they run. A little bit of a battle here in the back. That was a chop off on the front of Daniel Floria. Eric Kulaga absolutely sending it, but here comes maybe another send. There's a look to the inside. There's a look to the outside for Tenorio, and no, that is going to be DL running wide, and that is the maneuver we've been waiting for.
Oh, there it is. It was the dummy. He tried to make DL think that Tenorio was going down the outside, and then he tried to go to the inside, and in reaction to that, DL just goes a little bit wide, and he lets that position go. It doesn't look like he's going down without a fight, though. He still has about a lap and a half to maybe re-overtake here. And given how much trouble Tenorio had at going through there, he might be able to respond. But yeah, it was just that little bit of a dummy down the outside. Then he went to the inside. It put off DL. He missed his braking point, and he loses the place.
And, you know, I've got to say here, as a commentator, as just a racing fan, throwing the dummy, going for that crossover, always one of my favorite things to see in racing. It is one of the most spectacular moves to see get done, and I love that from Dan Tenorio.
Yeah, it is great to see. This is not great to see. Jeff Carollo off the road late on. I wonder if is he waiting for the leader? Yeah, I reckon he might be waiting for the leader here, so he doesn't have to do an extra lap. because he might not fueled quite right, or indeed he's just very damaged. Well, actually, the car doesn't look quite as good as Chris Long comes over the line to start his final lap.
Yes, that's right. The white flag in the air being waved by Barney the Flagman. And we've got to focus back in on this battle between Tenorio and DL as it keeps getting electric. There's a defensive move from Dan Tenorio going down into turn 1. Is that going to pay off there? Nice little park at the apex for the number 71. Going to keep DL behind him. And now he's got to go defensive again as they run down the hill into turn 3. This could set it up. It looks like there the DL is trying to back up the corner a little bit. And again, trying to back him up is Dan Tenorio. Runs him onto the grass.
Wow, there was not much space down there. DL, I don't know why he didn't just go for the outside line. I understand he wants the inside, of course, into turn 5, but it's basically your last opportunity of the race almost. Why would you try and put it down a gap that is almost less than half a car width there? I mean, it's not like Tenorio really shut the door on him to go out onto the grass there. I think DL was just ill-advised going out there. He should have gone to the outside line. It's not over yet, but he really has made his life very difficult now.
Yes, he has, and that gap ballooning up to about 0.7 of a second as they run. The only thing that could get in the way here, Charles Michel and Whitmoyer up ahead of them. A little bit of lap traffic that these two could catch.
Yeah, there is. Here they are. It's Boscher, I think it's battling with Whitmoyer actually as well over that 8th position, or it could just be two cars. They are actually in a battle themselves, so they're not going to want to give anything up here, really, as the leader at the moment, Chris Long, is not far from the start finish line.
And we're hearing there that Kai DL went off track yet again, so that's going to throw him out a little bit. That is that battle that we were talking about with Michelle. Here it is, just a little bit pushing too hard on the exit of the carousel. So easy to do when you are in that position, but we've got to focus here on your leader, Chris Long, as he climbs the hill. A brilliant pit strategy puts him out in front, and he will take victory in the feature race here for the press day.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex Trebek is going to be very disappointed to finish 2 seconds down. He will feel that he had the pace to win that one. Tenorio gets that third with that late pass on DL. And so a good drive from both of those guys. Harry Wills rounds out the top 5 as we look at Stephen Martinez, the AM winner. Likely, if he manages to get through this final corner. And he does. So yeah, AM winner from this second race.
Yes, indeed. Stephen Martinez in the Ferrari number 53 Vulture Motorsports blue car will cross over the line, and that is a pretty definitive win there for him in that AM category. A big gap between himself and Fowler, certainly putting his marks on the field.
Yeah, he really did. As the battles are continuing on, Florea wants 4th on Kulaga round the outside. There could be a drag race to the line here. There's a smoother exit for the McLaren, which is famously strong in a straight line. Is he going to be given the space? There's a bit of weaving going on from the Audi of Kulaga. It's going to be difficult. Oh my goodness, he's squeezing along the gap. Photo finish, but it's Kulaga who gets to the line first. A photo finish for 4th. Florea is going to have to settle for 5th.
Yes, he is. He will have to settle for 5th as they cross over there. That was so ridiculously close as they run. And I don't know about you, Ewan, but I hope this is just a precursor to what we are going to see over the course of this season and as we head to Le Mans next week. As there we have the race results for the pro drivers out there. As we said, it was Chris Long able to take victory by 2 seconds over Alex Trebek with a great pit stop sequence. Dan Tenorio finally able to get by Kai DL as they went through on those last couple of laps. And Harry Wills, despite a little bit of an off there early on, able to recover to get a good 5th place position. Drew Swank was in 6th, followed by Gary Brown and Shane Larson. Ariel Rexoy came home in 9th, followed by Dean Timms, who rounds out your top 10. And then some drivers who had a little bit of problems there on the day. Jeremy Littleton, Dave Menino, and Mark Chapman. But what about the AM standings?
As we just saw, Stephen Martinez go across the line there. Fairly comfortable winner in the end ahead of Michael Fowler and James Hebb. Eric Kulaga and Daniel Florea. A great fight there. Just over 300 of a second separated them at the line. And Tristan Delano, the final car, to complete the same amount of laps as the race winner. Fabian Ponce managed to get up to 7th after such a good race in race 1. Obviously, it's very difficult to repeat that in race 2. McMoyer and Poschel fought all the way to the line over 8th. Blumenkratz managed to round out the top 10 ahead of Russell Burton. Jeff Carollo was 12th ahead of John Casey. Then Brendan Merling and Andrew Hewitt. Matthew Poissons, Michael Kalaga and Katie Metzger didn't make the finish, and it may well be a few more of those that didn't make the finish as well.
Yeah, so plenty of drivers there having a little bit of problems, but we have one driver here joining us in the booth that didn't have any problems, and that is the number 53 of Steven Martinez. And Steven, especially in that second race, it looked like you just had that thing on lock.
Yeah, it was great. Fowler was right behind me. I know there was a section there where he could have taken the lead from me when I got caught up by a car that spun and was right there in the kink, but gentleman racer, he let me stay in front and backed out of it. So kudos to him. But yeah, the car was on rails. Him and I kept the exact same gap the entire race. So it's going to be a fun season.
Yeah, it's going to be a very, very fun season. And obviously this being the press day, but looking ahead to Le Mans, obviously the natural challenges of that track starting to present itself. But anything that you're looking forward to, anything that you're dreading as you run?
Just getting caught up in traffic. I mean, that second race, if I would have finished the first race where I, started, then I would have been in the back, and it doesn't seem like, guys like Delano and, Eric Kalaga and Mike Kalaga, they could have easily been running up the front, but it looks like they got into some traffic there. So you just got to stay clean and make your way through and be patient. So that's all I'm looking forward to.
Well, as we look ahead to the season, I've got to ask you about goals. Are you putting your stake here on a championship run as you go?
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't, but two seasons in GT3, and so far I've finished and tied last year's for second and the year before that for second. So now I got to get myself over the hump. Got good teammates, great races to go against. So yeah, definitely looking for the lead.
Well, we wish you luck in the campaign as they go. And, Steven, anybody you'd like to thank for the win here tonight?
Everybody. Errol from Twisted, all my teammates from Vulture Racing, James, Jeff Carollo, Eric and Mike Kalaga. Lots of practice, lots of time put in. So we definitely race and practice like this. So it's definitely helping out.
Well, it clearly does. And Steven Martinez, your victor here in the AM category in the number 53. Congratulations once again.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. Well, that was Steven Martinez, as we said. And now I believe you have caught up with Mr. Michael Fowler, who was able to come home P2 in AM.
Absolutely, Michael. Thanks very much for coming to join us in the commentary booth. How was that second race for you? Obviously, we'll talk about that one first. P2 in the end. Did you feel like you could ever get near that P1, or were you just settling for that second place?
Oh, I tried and tried. Steven Martinez. This is our third season racing against each other, and we're just pretty much always right on pace with each other. And I guess on lap 5 or 6, I forgot how to drive and dropped back a couple seconds and lost the draft and. That was pretty much it. I think I stayed 10 seconds behind him for the entire race.
Yeah, it was sort of a distant fight between the two, I guess we could say. I guess we've got to look forward. It is the press day. No points scored today, but what are you expecting from the 10-round season coming up next week?
I'm hoping for a pretty good race with this going from having the Pro-Ams to not having Pro-Ams. A lot of the Pro-Am guys are back down in AMs with us, and it makes the top of the amateurs a bit more competitive, I think. So I'm hoping we'll have a very competitive season. I've finished third the first 2 seasons. I don't necessarily know as competitive as it's going to be that's going to happen, but that's my goal, at least third.
Let's see. We look forward to seeing you over the next 10 weeks, of course. But Michael, well done on the driving tonight, of course, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us.
Thank you.
There we are, DJ Michael Fowler from second place in the AM category, and one more. We'll go to third in the AM, shall we?
Yes, we will, as I believe we have James Hebb here joining us in the category. And James, I want to start off with a question for you. You're driving the Lamborghini. Not a lot of folks choosing that out here. What made you choose the Bull?
Well, I ran it last year, and I really actually struggle in a lot of cars because I can get this one to rotate a lot better than most. So I find that the engine braking in it, and then the gear selection, I can rotate through corners a lot easier.
Well, all right, folks, there you heard it here first. If you're looking for a little bit of rotation around the corner, check out that Lamborghini. But, James, as we look ahead here on the season, obviously a good result for you here today. Are podiums what you're looking for over the course of the season? You looking for wins? You looking for the championship? How do you think it's going to go?
So last year I came in on the first race and knocked it out of the park, and then I had a hard time keeping the car from spinning out. I got a little flustered here and there, so this year I'm just going to work on that consistency and see if we can at least get in the top 3 each week, and I think that'll take us to a championship.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, James. Anybody you'd like to thank for this podium here today, though?
No, I want to thank myself for some amazing driving, and I hope you guys saw some of those wrecks that we missed. So
we did indeed, James. Thank you and congratulations once again, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Well, that was James Hebb, your third place finisher here in the AM category. And folks, that's about going to wrap things up for us here. We would like to thank you so much for joining us here tonight. My name is DJ Clark, and on behalf of Ewan O'Leary and David Christie behind the scenes, it has been a pleasure to bring you the race here today from Road America. Check in next week. We will be back at the same time as we get ready to go for real at Le Mans. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.